Good afternoon. You know how years go by, and I started when somebody said we've been married just over 40 years. Got married in 1979, so hell, that means it's 47 years already. Are you kidding me? How does that happen? And we're going to soon have our 8th grandbaby here soon, so life's going by fast. Perspective, I think that's really important for all of us in agriculture, right? We're humble, hardworking people, and if a little work is good, a lot more work is better. And I think that if I could do anything differently, as I look at my life, it would be, okay, how could have I figured out at an earlier age to have a little more balance in life? Maybe take some Sundays off. Maybe turn it over a little bit instead of just dropping the plow in a little deeper and pull a little harder. So if there's anybody doing that, I'd encourage you to rethink it. I will tell you, we're working very, 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 very hard as your governor, but I certainly have learned that if I'm blessed with energy, but if I'm sapped, I'm absolutely worthless and terrible and can say stupid things. So, it's just not a good place to be if you're wore out. And I think that'd be for all of us, right? We take care of ourselves enough so that we're good. I want to share so how many here are sorghum farmers? Okay, so I got to share. So I grew up, my folks had rented a farm. It took them 19 years before they could buy their first farm. And so I grew up west of Platte Center on the Shell Creek base. No irrigation, and we were on the farm, and so before irrigation, and then we raised pigs. 3 boys were good with a pitchfork, and it was all labor, and scooped and a little more. But what did we raise a lot of? We raised agave grain sorghum because it was a great crop, and it was a great crop for cattle. So I don't know if there's anybody in here old enough to be able to remember an old John Deere 45 combine. So my dad, unfortunately, smoked nonstop, but he would run that John Deere combine and keep moving it, and the 45 could do 3 rows. And when you ride with Dad, and when whatever you're doing with grains, we're just black, right, with all the dust. And especially when we'd grind feed all the time, whoever had to go in and grind, scoop it into the auger to grind it out. So those were pretty well the Pillen boys' days, scooping manure and scooping grain sorghum. So I understand it well. I thought I would share a couple things, and I think maybe what would be best if I take questions from everybody. But I'll tell you a couple things I think are really, really important for all of us in agriculture. Maybe the first step would be to have extraordinary appreciation for what we get to do and what we're a part of. I'm telling you what, I spoke a couple days ago to UNK students, and I was asked to talk about the 3 things that I have the greatest concern about. And I'll tell you what I said that they have, and I'd be curious if any of you agree with it. I'm really, really concerned, not only for our students, but all of us, about this information deluge that we have stuff coming at us all the time. I tell you what I do. I started this about 6 years ago, and I follow it with my security guys. I never have the radio on. The radio is off nonstop. When I'm traveling, I'm either thinking or reading or praying. I refuse to have all this stuff coming at me. So I've told the kids, I'm really concerned that we're inundated with information. I was old enough to know what was going on in the Vietnam War. I was old enough to know, but not old enough to go. And Walter Cronkite, anybody remember Walter Cronkite? What would he say at the end of and that's the way it was. We had 30 minutes of national, 30 minutes of local, and that's what we had. And we didn't have people telling us how to think. Second thing I told the kids that I'm really worried about is that we are so consumed with these dumb phones, and walking around, not only our kids, but all of us, walking around like this, that we've forgotten how to build relationships with each other. Last time I checked, the only way we can build relationships is to spend time looking each other in the eye and having conversations. We'd rather text instead of have a conversation. It's crazy. And then third, and most that's really, really important, that I think is does anybody spend part of your day or a lot of your day critically thinking? I don't know about you, but I know when I am exhausted, those are the day that I have to use the gray matter between my ears. And I'm telling you what, because of these things and how life is, I'm not sure we're very good at it anymore. Because, if you think about something, you don't think about it, you send this in and whatever this thing says, oh, that's the way it is. But here's what's the awesome about agriculture. We are forced in our daily routines of what we do with germination and conception, right, that we have to critically think. What we have to do, what we get the opportunity to do as we feed the world and save the planet is we learn to critically think. We learn to build relationships because we can't do it all through a dumb phone, thank God. So those are things I think really important. So a couple things that I think that I'm really, really fired up about for Nebraska today, more than ever in my lifetime, because of what's taken place. Might be relevant to share an extraordinary moment I had on a trade mission selling Nebraska ag in Israel. So we were in Israel the last week of October. And the purpose of the mission was solidarity and then selling Nebraska. One piece of it was, I don't know if everybody's aware, but just south 20 miles in Hastings, the kosher plant, Fiscal Zigabine was with us. That is the only source of kosher beef in Israel, 100% from the state of Nebraska. And that plant is growing from 500 a day to we'll be processing 1,200 head a day in the next couple of years because Nebraska cattle, right? Best in the world. So my point in bringing maybe that I wanted to share about Israel that I think is incredible, that we need to appreciate what's taken place in the last 60 years in Nebraska. So I was in Western Galilee the first morning. I met a lady who she was probably in her 80s, and she said, "My last name is Strauss. My family are Jews from Germany, and my father did well. And in 1935, my father knew what Adolf Hitler was up to, and he moved. Our family left everything. We had really good life in Germany. Left everything and moved to Israel." And she showed pictures of Israel in 1935. And you know what it looked like? It looked like Grandma Pillen's pictures of farm ground in Platte Center, Nebraska in 1935, with sheets up on the windows, drifts of dust, because we were in the high desert plains, no irrigation, and that's exactly the way it was in Israel. And then when you think about commonality, what Israel has done with their water, the agriculture in Israel blew me away, and they are a net exporter now of water, where they have utilized extraordinary technological advancements. Again, just like what we've done here in the state of Nebraska. We have 4 center pivot irrigation companies that were founded by families, still 2 run by families, by the Thomes and Hastings and the Rinke family in Deschler. And then, of course, the Zimmer family became publicly traded Lindsay, and then the Doherty family's Valmont. I mean, those 4 companies have 100% of the global market share in irrigating. It's just incredible stuff. So I think those are things that are important for us to have a full appreciation about who we are and how we've evolved, because there's not another story on the planet, in my humble opinion, about how agriculture has evolved in this state. And so that takes me to the vision. As your governor, I work very hard to defend agriculture, grow agriculture, and sell agriculture. Defend it, grow it, sell it. 1990, as a veterinarian and working in the pork industry, I joined a group called the American Association of Swine Veterinarians, and it's a global group to come together. You can interact, you can learn a couple things, meet some people. And our first meeting we went to was in 1990 in Nashville. And why I remember it so well is outside of this hotel, there were gestation stalls, and there were young ladies in pink pig suits, and the sign said PETA. Well, I had no idea. What is this PETA? 1990. Most of you weren't born in had no idea what PETA is. Think about how we have had activist groups attacking agriculture at every step since 1990. Humane Society of the United States, the greatest Trojan horse, modern day Trojan horse, where they are attacking, they get us all to give $19 a month because we want to help pet shelters. All the money goes to attacking production agriculture. And I'd never believe this unless I saw it. 10, 12 years ago, we actually had 3 people in our office, looked at them, and long and short, they were employees of the Humane Society of the United States trying to get a job to be able to come in, take pictures of what we do with our pigs, and then just paint it out and try to put us out of business. So the one piece I think is really important, that we defend agriculture. That's why I was a really big stickler about fake meat, that we absolutely make sure people understand what this stuff is, and I've dubbed it bioreactor meat, and I'm really proud that we were able to get more than 33 votes through to say, look, if you want to eat fake meat, good for you. You can get it dropped off at your step. We're just not going to allow it to be made or sold in grocery stores in Nebraska. I believe it's important that we defend agriculture. The other part that I think is really important is I think we have to have a vision. Visions are important to have a view of where can we get to. Well, I believe that if we can utilize every bushel of sorghum that you raise in the state of Nebraska, the closer you get it consumed to where you raise it, the more value we create. So my view of exporting commodities, my view of putting soybeans on a barge and sending it wherever is bad business. My view of putting corn on barges is bad business. I remember early on, 5 years ago, when I started running for governor, there were people that thought I'd be against ethanol, Don, because we feed pigs and it would raise the price of corn. Well, number one, all the byproducts have helped livestock, cattle and livestock but the bottom line, it's value-added agriculture. And so we're making incredible progress. I don't know if you're all aware, but we've done an intense market study, and it's outside of government, but the market study for soybeans. When you count the new Norfolk crush plant and the AGP's plant in David City, that took up 25% of our soybean crop. And when you count the 2 plants just on the other side of the river, most of that soybeans goes from west to east. So when you count that, we're virtually not exporting any more soybeans in Nebraska. We can process 300 million soybeans, which means that's value, and we can sell soybean meal, we can sell biodiesel, you get it. So, and now with the ethanol industry and with the Tallgrass pipeline, Chief plant, the oldest plant in Nebraska, is being redone and doubling in size. I'm a believer that all the ethanol plants that are doing carbon capture will be doubling, consuming way more corn. It's a critical thing. We have to increase the demand. Have to increase the demand for everything that we raise in our crops. So that maybe I believe is really tangible. Really tangible. And so today, when you think about that CO2 capture and the value that can be created, I heard a little bit talking about aviation fuel. As your governor, I've met with the Japanese ambassador 2 different times now. Guess what he wants to talk about? One thing, aviation fuel. It's all he wants to talk about. aviation fuel, when are you going to be able to make it? And they say in that part of the world, the market, they believe that aviation fuel will be 45 billion gallons of aviation fuel. Think of this, ethanol is 15. They believe it'll be 3x ethanol industry, and they think that can happen in 10 to 15 years. So when I hear that stuff and understand what kind of markets there are, I don't know who can compete with us in Nebraska. When you think about what we're doing with irrigation, how we've utilized our water, we have 70,000 pivots in the state of Nebraska, and in a lot of areas that can really raise great crops, dry land. So it puts us in an extraordinary position. So there's the other thing I think that's important for us to realize. Everybody's in the loop that we are now #1 in the cattle industry. We feed more cattle than anyone in the world. Texas, move over, we've kicked your butt. They're #2. Isn't that great? So that's official. In 25, we had 2.8 million cattle on feed. They're 2.4. So that's official. We're number, I think, 4 or 5 on babies. I think we're a couple million mama cows. Maybe a little less than that right now. But so we're #1 in cattle. And then ethanol, because of the capture, right, Don, I'm not misspeaking. I was throwing the white flag and said Nebraska's #1 in ethanol. Say it again? They ceded the crown. Yeah, they ceded the crown. They said, we've been #1 for 25 years. They threw the white flag up, said it's Nebraska. So think of this. It's important we brag. We're #1 in lives in cattle. We're #1 in ethanol. So I don't know about you, but when I look across the fields, I think of food and fuel. I think of food and fuel, and I think of it as the most extraordinary value added and extraordinary opportunities for rural revitalization. Extraordinary. The other piece that I wanted to mention that I think is really important, and I wanted to share about it with a big, beautiful bill in rural health transformation. There's some things that I've understood, and then there's a bunch of things I've just worked hard and took them for granted. But I think the other thing that's really, really important for our communities to grow, we have to, a hub that's essential is we have to have health care. We have to all have access to health care. And the rural health transformation, we've worked hard. We're going to get over this year $218 million from the federal government to help with some key initiatives. And that project will that money will last for 5 years. It's a $10 billion to be distributed around states, and I feel really good about what our team's done for a plan, and then we've spent time with Dr. Oz and Secretary Kennedy, so we're all doing everything we can to make that happen. I think it'll be really important for all of our communities as we help train some of our young people to become healthcare providers, where there'll be a lot of technology so we can have better access without having to travel. Certainly big stuff with food is fuel, where our kids can be fed better, and then certainly mental health and drug rehabilitation. Those will be things that will really, really be important there. So I think that maybe the other thing I wanted to visit about before I kind of go into my 5 key words why I get so jacked up about our future would be a couple policies. One thing that's really, really hard, it's taken me a ton to learn, and some would probably say I don't know anything yet, but we're working very hard to run government as a business. Run government like a business, make sound, simple business practice decisions, and you can improve services and decrease costs. So we're decreasing spend in state government. We're spending less money this year than we did last year, and we're spending less money than we did 2 years ago. Yet, if you read the papers, are all of you pretty convinced we're broke? Right? Because, and here's it's taken me a little bit, but here's how I think I can explain it so it makes sense, why it comes. So we have a constitutional amendment said that we have to balance the budget every year. So I think all of us in business will compare by month or by quarter how we did last year, right? So our fiscal year this year started July 1st of 25. In the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter, okay, of our fiscal year, we had $100 million more revenue than we had the previous year, And we decreased spend $250 million. So we were $350 million better off, bottom line, like we look at it in business, than the year before. Then what happened the next month is this thing called the forecasting board. Forecasting board is people that come together and they do an estimate to forecast what the revenue stream is going to be. Okay? Now, that forecasting board then in October said that the revenue is going to drop by $220 million a year for the biennium, $440 million. So then it's reported if you're going to have $440 million less revenue, you got a big problem. If you keep spending money, you do. And so it gets really confusing. So what I want you to know is the budget will be balanced. And our credit ratings today for the state of Nebraska, the credit ratings are the highest they've ever been. And some of the reasons why that is, we have hundreds of millions, several $billion in cash accounts. And then in our general and cash reserve fund, we have $1 billion. So we have a lot of money, and sometimes those facts just don't get out. So I wanted to make sure you had confidence in the budget and that we're not broke and we're great rate and everything's going to be fine. I personally really like it. You might think I'm crazy, but I personally really like it when the forecasting board says how bad it's going to be, because we can keep shrinking government. A lot of times people get elected, they like to spend our money. The worse the revenue is, the more we can shrink government. I just happen to believe we got way too much government, spend way too much money. The other thing that I think is really important as we talk about agriculture, the good news would be 95% of agriculture is family farm owned. And so we're working really hard. It's been 2 years in the making. We'll get a bill through this year that's called an Ag Data Privacy Bill. Ag Data Privacy Bill, because our view of the world is that we work really hard to protect all of us in farming and ranching, protect our family farms. I think we're all getting there to where we agree. We're in the technology business, and we just happen to raise sorghum. We're in the technology business, and we just happen to raise corn. We're in the technology business, and we happen to raise pigs, cattle. You get it? Well, the bottom line, there's a whole lot of people that want access to our technology. They want access to our data. So I'm a believer that we, the owners of our land, we, the owners of what we do, we're the ones that need to own our data and control it. Those two words are really important. Own it and control it. Now, Jim, if you decide you're going to do something good by selling your data, whatever, that's going to be your privilege, but not that it just goes without any, and that's where the slippery slope's been headed. So we've gotten some good pushback, which probably means that it's got an opportunity, that we're going to get it passed and it's going to do us some good. So it's uncharted waters. No other state's done it. But again, when you think about Nebraska, who we are in agriculture, I mean, our agriculture is so diverse, it's off the charts, and the technological advancements. The other thing I wanted to share that I hope resonates, in 21, the federal government gave $405 million to each state for last mile connectivity. And then we did a day 2 of broadband office, got that approved through the legislature in 23. So we've been working on access in the last mile. In the first couple of years, it was a little different process under the Biden administration, and then different things have changed. But here's where we're at today. So where we're at today, we've worked with the providers and everything. The bottom line, we could have spent all $405 million and not gotten everybody connected. Could have spent it all and not got everybody connected. So we've gone the technology route. I'm not technologically capable of explaining it, but we've gone the route of satellites, and the security of the satellites improved dramatically, where we spend $48 million, not 405, and we have everybody connected. And so I've been with the Commerce Department and talking about that 350 plus other $1 million. What we want to be able to do is make sure everything is connected. Everything is connected, i.e., I talked about foreign animal disease. It'd be awesome if we have the technology and the connectivity so that every feedlot is totally connected no matter where they're at. Every mama cow, no matter where they're at. Foreign animal disease, how important that'll be. That all 70,000 center pivots are connected so we can utilize technology for precision farming and water usage everywhere. So we're very optimistic that we will get that. And so just want to make sure everybody understood the facts on that one. There's a few people uptight that we're not putting it all in the ground. Reality is we could have never gotten that connected. And so I think that part's really important. And then maybe the last thing I wanted to share, let me just check. I want to make sure. Maybe I'll just touch base about property tax. Property taxes is a real challenge. It takes an extraordinary amount to get 33 votes. My epiphany as your governor, because I never ever paid attention to this stuff, but I call it 3317. Takes 33 votes to get anything done and only 17 to stop everything. So right now, today, we have 33 like-minded people, but one person gets clipped off on an issue and it's dead. I'm a believer that we have to continue to lower our income tax. I'm a believer, we have to continue to decrease spending. We spend too much everywhere. We have to decrease spend, have government do what it really needs to do and not more. And then we have to fix our tax policy. I believe we're going to have to get lower in income. This next year now we'll be at 3.994%. Our neighbors are going to go lower. If we're going to grow Nebraska, we have to get more competitive. But our property taxes today, we're number 3 or 4 in the country, depending upon, and it's a killer for everybody. Young people can't own a home soon enough. So to me, the solution is really simple. We've got a chance to get legislation passed this year that would hard cap spend. Would be a hard cap on spend. Latest is this morning was 2.5%. Nobody spends more than 2.5%. If a school or a community, whatever, said, I need 5%, 2 years, they would take it to a vote of the people. It'd take 60% to pass it. I believe we need more people involved in the process than having a school board of 6 spend $40 million on a school. If we, the people, vote on it, I think it's awesome. But if we only have a couple, we're spending ourselves to death. So I think we have to cap spending, and then really simple. I don't know if you're all aware, but our community colleges, 3 years ago we changed. Our community colleges were all covered by property taxes. So we, the state, invest. We've taken that over. We, the state, fund the community colleges. All the regional boards that are elected run them, but we, the state, fund them. And the goal of that was simple: property tax relief. But probably more important, that every community college is really strong, because our community colleges are essential for vibrant rural communities and vibrant workforce and welders and plumbers and so forth. So that piece is really important. So we believe the solution's the same for K-12 education, where we can we fund right at $2.5 billion for K-12. If the state takes it over, we need to find another $1.25 billion. So our belief is broadening the sales tax base to be able to take that dollar for property tax. So I'm a believer in lowering our sales tax and broadening it. An example would be ironing shirts. I used to iron my shirts. Today, when I pick up my shirts, I complain about what I spend for them, but I don't pay any sales tax. So a service industry is a great way to have a conversation about broadening revenues, so we get our property tax to something that's manageable and affordable, and we can stay in our homes. So I'll finish with 5 words that I think are incredibly important for our future, and I've touched on some of them. But number 1, it's the greatest thing in Nebraska. It's the people. We're extraordinary people. It's the people. It's our water. It's food. We're number one in food. It's food. We're fuel. And then electricity. Lots of extraordinary things happening, and we have legislation protect public power, but to make sure as we have aviation fuel, those will take 1,200 megawatts, that we can have electricity produced behind the meter, and we're really optimistic that that'll cross the line. So my view of the world, the future is extraordinarily bright for Nebraska when we think about our people, our extraordinary aquifer, protecting our aquifer. Water Quantity and Quality Task Force has done some great work. Our food, we're number one in cattle. Our fuel, ethanol, number one. And then extraordinary opportunities when we can lead the nation in electricity so we can really, really grow our economy. So a couple questions and I'll get out of your hair. Yes, sir.
We just recently started a poultry broiler operation just a couple months ago, and we had a 14-month zoning problem. And I want to appreciate the help in getting 663 passed. That should make a big difference, and it can help us grow not just poultry. We raised hogs forever until recently, but I think it's going to help agriculture in general because of that. So I appreciate the efforts and you signing that.
Yeah, no, the comment on zoning getting fixed and getting some shot clocks in and some common sense stuff, and that was a great team effort. A lot of people worked hard. Tanya Storr worked really hard on it, and that's going to be a big deal. It's going to help. It's going to help the poultry industry. It's going to help dairy industry. Has great opportunity. We believe there could be processing in the plant in Lexington. You know, I'm speaking with the CEO every week. We're optimistic things are going to happen fast, sir. Yes, sir. Say it one more time. Yeah. Sorry. I bled too many cells. I can't hear anymore.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so there's states out there like Minnesota that have an agricultural utilization and research institute. Has Nebraska considered doing something like that? Because I think we need a lot more diversification in Nebraska, and that's one of the challenges that we see on the farm.
So I'd brag about the University of Nebraska Institute of Ag and Natural Resources, and you know, we've got an extraordinary cow herd that does a lot of research. There's research farms out at North Platte that are looking at all different drought-resistant hybrids and so forth. I mean, I just couldn't debate you any longer about how diverse our ag economy is. I mean, we are growing in poultry. We're number one in cattle. We're number 4 in mama cows. I think we're number 5 or 6 in pork industry. Fixing the egg zoning that has stifled our ability to grow even more has really hurt our ability to grow in the last 30 years. And then because of our aquifer, I mean, are you aware that almost every seed corn company has come to Nebraska? Why? Because we're the best place to do business. That's created incredible value added for agriculture. So, you know, southern Minnesota raises a lot of pigs. You get into northern Minnesota and the climate, and it makes sense for peas and different things. I mean, you go to the Panhandle, we have the same thing. I mean, Kelly Bean has 12% of the global market, for crying out loud. So I think what's really important is we figure out who we are. We figure out who we are and what we're the best at in the world, and then we can sell that. And I think our universities, our community colleges, and then we scale it, and that's what we're in the midst of. I mean, we're going to be doubling ethanol production. How is that a bad thing? That puts more demand for every kernel of corn that's raised. And when there's not enough corn, they're going to use grain sorghum. So I think. I just have one regret. I wish I was your age. One other question or comment? Yes, sir. There we go. We got a young man here. That's awesome.
You say you regret being older and you wish you were younger. Being my age, and I don't have a profitable production that I can go back to that'll support myself.
Yeah.
How do you project us young kids being able to get back into agriculture without having to come up with all the money to pay for product production like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think did you hear me say about how my mom and dad rented a farm for 19 years?
Yeah.
19 years.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything. We didn't have anything. We didn't have anything. We had everything. So when you're, I didn't have nothing. I had an education, had partners. I was sweat equity. Sell myself, sell yourself. You're a smart, good-looking young man. And, if you have a dream and you believe in your dream, you don't need money. You'll figure that out. Seriously. You be you don't need money. You'll figure that out. But you got to have patience. Got to have perseverance. You got to have grit. Never give up. Never take no. I had an instructor. I had a dream. I had an instructor that told, I flunked my first biology test. I'm pre-vet. That wasn't a very good start. So I went and saw my instructor. His name was Dr. Grace. He said, what do you want to be? You want to be a football player or a veterinarian? He said, it's obvious you can't do both. I thought about it for about 5 hours, and I said, the heck with Dr. Grace. He's not going to steal my dream. So get a dream. You don't need money to have dreams. You can do anything. That's my 2 cents. I'll bet the farm on you. All right. Thank you for having me. God bless you for coming together, because I'll leave you with one extraordinary thing some of you might have heard me talk about. I learned it 30 days into being your governor from tribal leader of the Sani Sioux. He said, when we're together, can I share what my grandfather taught me? I said, by all means. He said, when we're together and we're learning from each other and making an impact from a community, it's a big deal. And he said, grandfather said it lasts a long time. I said, I got it. He goes, no, Mr. Governor. My grandfather said it lasts for 7 generations. 7 generations. I had no way of thinking or understanding that at that time. I was maybe thinking about my grandbabies and maybe their babies. But I'm telling you, since that time frame, everywhere I go in Nebraska, I see Nebraska from 7 generations. I think Nebraska from 7 generations. And I'm telling you what, start thinking 7 generations, you get jacked. You get stoked. You get more energy, because when we're doing stuff in Nebraska for the long term, there's nobody that can touch us. See 7, think 7. God bless. Thanks for having me.